Welcome to Bourbon with the Editor. This is a special Sunday evening edition. We're here with our special guest, Jeffrey Badger, PhD in herbology, or grinding, as most people know.
Yes, grinding.
And he is more commonly known as the Grinding Doc. As our columnist for the magazine, and he's going to share some bourbon with us this evening. And we're going to really catch up because we haven't had a chance to be in the same room for quite some time, thanks to COVID and a few other factors. But jog your memory about the way you got started with cutting tool engineering, or even with grinding.
Okay, good.
Let's go all the way back.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Dennis. It's good to be back. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
I think the last time was IMTS, but I'm not sure. And that was almost 2 years ago.
It was 2022.
Yeah. So let's see. How did I get started in grinding? Well, I got started in engineering. I did a bachelor's in mechanical engineering at University of Texas at Austin. Then I did a master's at Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't want to go get a real job. I wanted to travel the world. But if you're going to travel the world, you need money. I didn't have any money. So I got a job in Finland, and that was kind of fun. Got to hang out in Finland, go hang out in the sauna, eat raw fish, swim in the hole in the ice, do all the stuff the Finns do. So let's see. Then I finished in Finland, no pun intended, and then I wanted to travel the world. I still didn't have any money, and the economy was a little bit rough. So I said, okay, if you want to travel the world and you don't have any money, you can always just go do a PhD somewhere, doctoral degree. So I sent off various letters to universities around the world if they sounded fun. I sort of had a specialty in something called tribology, study of friction and wear, not the study of tribe, study of friction and wear, and lubrication, stuff like that. So I sent off letters to various universities around the world. And, if it was, or I got on the internet, I searched for universities that had departments of tribology. And if it was University of Moscow, I sent them a letter. If it was the University of Southern Illinois, I didn't send them a letter. If it was the University of Mumbai, I sent them a letter. So one of the places that popped up was Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, and that seemed like kind of like a fun place. So I went there and I said, what's the subject? And they said, the subject is grinding. I said, I don't know what the hell's grinding. I don't know what grinding is, but Dublin seemed like an interesting place to go. It was a good university.
Your age at this point?
26, maybe 25, 26. Okay. Yeah. And so I sent them an application or sent them in. They said, yeah, okay, you can come to Dublin and do a PhD in grinding. And I was like, okay, that sounded kind of cool. Dublin sounded really cool. So I went and spent 3 years in Dublin.
And compared to Texas, which is where you're from,
yep.
It's definitely cooler.
Definitely cooler. Yes. So that was fun. It was a couple years in Dublin, and then I had my little grinding machine, did my experiments. I had a little 1960-something Jones and Shipman surface grinder, and I would go every day and play around the grinder, do my experiments, do stuff. And I did a PhD in that, and it was a very academic project, probably doesn't really have any real-world applicability. But it was very good for me to kind of learn from first principles, from the bottom up, grinding. And that's where I got a doctorate in grinding. And then I worked for a couple different companies.
How long were you in Dublin?
3 years in Dublin.
Okay.
And I went to England for a year.
What? Let's back up for a second, because you skipped right over the beer.
The beer, yes.
I mean, you were in Dublin. Guinness?
I lived across from the Guinness Brewery, actually.
Okay.
Yes, I lived like about a block and a half away. I lived on Usher's Quay, which is right down the hill from the Guinness Brewery, right down the street from the Brazen Head Pub.
Maybe it's there, maybe it's not.
It's still there, though. That was like the oldest pub in Dublin,
okay,
so it's still there. Across from Smithfield, the Smithfield Horse Market. I lived above, the apartment complex was above what was that place called? The Liffey Wharf, I think it was, pub. And so, so I drank a lot of Guinness when I was there.
All right.
Yeah. And That was it. And then finished, went and worked in England for a while. The company had grinding burn issues. And then I went to Sweden and worked there for a company looking at the grindability of their different steel grades.
How did you get lined up with some of these opportunities?
Some of them were involved with my PhD. There were companies connected with my PhD. So I finished and I said, hey, I want a job. I don't want to go back to Texas. You don't have to pay me well. It's okay. Sweden sounded really exotic. England sounded really exotic at the time. So I just went there and learned about grinding because I had a PhD didn't mean I know a damn thing. So I just consumed information and just tried to learn.
And the big part of your education was kind of the research and getting to know academics who were in the lab setting.
I teach this in my grinding courses, or I talk about it in my grinding courses, and there are two worlds of grinding. There's the real world, the production world, and there's the academic world. And there the twain shall meet. I mean, they are just completely two different worlds. And a lot of people in the real world have no idea the academic world exists. A lot of the stuff done in the academic world is fabulous research, but it's written in this kind of esoteric differential equations and calculus and complicated stuff. And so what a lot of my job the last 20 years has been, okay, let's take all this academic stuff and I can figure it out. It takes me some time to figure it out, even though I did a damn PhD and stuff. It still takes me time to figure out these damn differential equations. And I say, okay, I'm going to read this academic article. I'm going to spend a week reprocessing all the results. And I'm going to translate it to real world speak so that you guys can use it on the shop floor. So how do we get this so it's actually useful on the shop floor? And that's a fair bit of my job in the last 20 years has been kind of translating a lot of the quality work in the academic world to make it accessible to people in the real world.
So how long did it take you to get from helping those first couple of companies to that point where you decided, I'm going to consult. I'm going to go around and help people. How many years passed?
Yeah. So yeah, we've kind of sidetracked, but I'm okay with that. We'll come back to cutting tool engineering eventually.
Yeah.
But let's see. I worked in Sweden for 2 years, and that was fun. And then I went to the same company in Sweden, same company in New Jersey, and worked for them in New Jersey. Is their technical manager.
Oh.
And that was fine. It was good, but I started getting away from grinding and they had me doing other stuff. And then the company said, we want to be ISO 9000 certified and we want to do it in 6 months. And Jeff Badger's the guy to do it. And I started doing some research and I found out it was just a lot of paperwork and a lot of, and I just said, no, that's not for me. So that would have been February of 2004. I was living in New Jersey. And I quit my job, broke up with my girlfriend, put all my stuff in storage, and just went on the road as grinding guy, independent experts.
Yeah, because this was before the grinding dock.
Almost, kind of. It would have been about 2 years after the grinding dock, I think.
Oh, okay. So I am getting out of order here.
Yeah, because the grinding dock, what happened is when I was working in Sweden, I wrote an article for Don Nelson.
Previous publisher for Cutting Tool Engineering.
And I wrote an article on grinding burn and saying, hey, how do what is grinding burn? And I had to figure that out. It took me some time to figure out what grinding burn is. I went through all the literature. I figured out the different types for grinding burn for steel. And I wrote a paper about it that people still cite today because it's probably the only one out there that just kind of summarizes what it is. He said, okay, thank you. Good paper. If you have any ideas for other papers, let me know. And so I said, well, remember Dear Abby when we were a kid?
Yes.
And Landers?
Well, yeah.
And I said, maybe we could be the Dear Abby of grinding. And I said, I'll just call myself the Grinding Doc. And people will write in question answer, and chatted with Don about it. I said we could do that every month, and Don said, well, hold on, let's do every other month. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
And it's been every other month.
Yeah, and I'm kind of grateful for that. The 1 month would have been a lot.
Yeah.
So then that would have been early 2001, maybe. I'm not sure.
No,
And
it probably was. I didn't get involved with the magazine until 2007. in January of that year. So you were already doing the column when I got here.
Yeah, because I remember when you came in. I remember meeting you. Yep.
Yeah, and so somewhere around 2001, you say, you think? Okay.
I'm
And
pretty sure.
I
Yeah.
think that's about right, because we were thinking it was over 20 years. So you were giving one of your courses downtown Chicago in one of the hotels, and I went down there with the video camera, one of the first video shoots with you that it was the first video shoot I did with you. I thought, you'd be good if you try to do a video version of your column. So, and that's from that point on. That's how that got rolling.
I don't remember that. That was when you suggested that idea. Okay.
Yeah, I asked you to think about it, and we started talking, and you were open to it, and we just kept talking about it until you came out, and we shot a bunch of them and put them in the can, and yes. I started releasing them once a month for over a year, and then you came back and we filmed some more, and kept doing that every year for several years.
And it was brutal because you'd put it up there, and I'd look at the comments, and little 10-year-old boys would log in and start making fun of me, calling me names and making fun of my tie and calling me dork, and said, "Oh, I want to be a grinding expert." And yeah, it was rough. Did bad things for my self-confidence just reading those 10-year-old kids trashing me below the videos.
I thought you were giving autographs, as I recall.
So yeah, those were fun, and actually those were a big hit because who wants to read anymore, right? Reading takes work. Let's just get the 3-minute video.
Well, and that's kind of what your courses are as well. You have a ton of photos and images, and you have all these slides and illustrations that you go through and kind of simplify in terms that you can quickly pick up on. So that is the thing that I thought this is perfect for a video series. And the reason I thought let's just do it like a video version of the grinding dock, you always answer one question in the grinding dock column. For if there's 2 questions in the column, that's from 2 different shops generally. Yeah. But it's answering one question at a time, which was perfect for like a 3 to 5 minute little video segment. Worked. People appreciated seeing that and getting that information. Not necessarily the best videographer behind the camera, but that was many years ago at this point. And there is one of those that I want to just kind of put on here in the background. So I'm going to switch the scene up here. The bourbon we've got open here, I'm going to put that up first. So we're drinking this Penelope, which is a toasted variety of this bourbon, which is a bourbon that the local liquor store owner, where we get most of our bourbon locally here in Arlington Heights, and that might be actually Palatine, but the gentleman recommended this, and it is really smooth. It was surprising, never heard of it. Then again, just to remind everyone, I'm not a connoisseur yet. I'm working on it, but this is a really smooth bourbon. Buffalo Trace is the first bourbon I ever really had, and I really like that, and it's still my number one. Of course, Blanton's expensive, good, but I still like Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace and Blanton.
Blanton's is really expensive. It's like a couple $100 a bottle. It's that one back here with the horse stopper on the top. We had that last time when Vargas was here for our second episode with them. It's very good. It's strong. When you try different bourbons, I'm always surprised at how smooth a lot of them can be. And this Penelope really surprised me. Not all bourbons are smooth. There's like some scotch, some scotches, and then you get some, I won't even try to name any of the scotches, but Glenfiddich is a good one, I think. And that's pretty smooth. Nothing like bourbon. Bourbon is an easy whiskey to drink, and they're generally, most of them that I've had so far are smooth. Some are a little stronger than others.
I like this one.
This Penelope,
I'm not a big bourbon guy, but I like this.
This Penelope was really smooth, and this one's toasted, so it's got a hint of.
I can get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll come back to this and talk about it a little bit more. But right now, I want to show everyone.
I don't know if I want to see this.
I'm just going to switch our
10-year-old kids make fun of me about on YouTube.
No. We're watching this one. This is when we decided to put you entirely in front of
Yeah,
a
I remember. Yeah.
green screen, and you're doing all of these. I'm putting you in all of these electron microscope images that you've
I
captured
remember
over the
that. That was
years.
the green screen one. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just kind of ended up in different places in these things. To me, this was the most fun I had putting the videos together, and it happened to be this one is almost 25 minutes long.
Ooh.
And people watched the whole thing, but that was
a cool one. I remember that. That was fun.
And
you had me floating around all the different grinding wheels and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I ended up using something similar for some of the other videos that we ended up doing after that, where whenever there was an opportunity to use one of your electron microscopic images, I tried to put you in the image, and that was just a nice, fun thing to do. And I think people liked it back then anyway. I don't know if it would really work today, but it was something that we were doing. Well, I don't, so we started it. We did over 100 episodes, and we stopped right around 2020 when COVID. I don't think we went past that. I think 2019 was probably the last year we posted.
I know I would come like every 6 months to a year, and we'd film like 10.
Yeah.
So we had a couple rounds. I remember that.
The first couple of years, I think he came out every 6 months, and then we started getting really good at it, and we would do like 12 or 20 of them one time. Okay. And so there might have been about a year or so between your visits, but it was a great way to complement what you were doing in the magazine.
I get comments all the time, because people will say, I say, how do you hear about my course or whatever? And they say, oh, we just watch your videos. And some guys would say, our boss makes us watch them at lunch. And people talk about the videos all the time. Yeah, so I hear that quite a bit. I'll be in a course and they'll say, oh, you did a video about this subject. So yeah, people are aware of them. People will say, hey, we had this problem and we battled it for years. And then we watch the video and boom, oh, it's that easy. The solution's that easy. We feel silly because we watched the video and it was such an easy solution. I get that a lot too.
There's another one that might be worth taking a look at in your role as not necessarily the grinding dock, but as a consultant. You're going all around the world, and from one place to the next, different countries. It's just kind of became your life for the last
20 years now.
Well, yeah, I get
2004 is when I did it.
Yeah, you're right. That's what you were saying.
Yeah. There's the music. I remember that. Yeah. We had to choose the intro music. And then
So here, this is Jeff, and he was explaining how he does his life, how he conducted his business. All those triangles on this map of the world are places where he's been. And this is probably 3 or 4 years ago now.
No, probably 10 years ago now, maybe. It's been a while because 3 or 4 years ago was the height of COVID. It's been a while.
No, you're right. I don't know if you've gone anywhere in Russia.
Yeah, I've been to Russia.
Okay.
Not recently.
But he's, as you can see, been almost everywhere. There are a few places he hasn't been, but it's the kind of life that led you to want to maybe at some point take a step away from that and do more with video. And you started doing that. Not just with the Grinding Dock video series, but you started doing that through your coursework, and you were trying to get it on video. And I think you've started to do that on your own, haven't you?
Well, when COVID hit, very few companies were bringing me in because of COVID, and I had a lot of free time. So I started doing Zoom classes online, and I didn't like the idea at first because I wasn't comfortable on Zoom.
Yeah.
But I said, yeah, it's got to be done.
And it's live.
It's live, and it's the online education is the thing of the future. So I basically just took all my regular courses and then put them in a 1-day Zoom course for this subject, half a day for this, 2 hours for this, and did it. And it wasn't that bad. It was fine. The first couple times were painful, but then after that I got used to it, and it's 90% as effective as if you do it in person. So it's okay. And now I do it all the time in Zoom. And sometimes a company will say, hey, we'd like to bring you in, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to come visit you. Why don't we just do a 1-day Zoom session? If it's nothing too funky, if it's just mainstream cylindrical OD plunge whatever grinding,
okay,
we could probably just do a 1-day Zoom course, and I could set you straight on all the things that you probably are not aware of. And so then that kind of branched off to that, to say, okay, we're going to do the Zoom courses during COVID. And we did a bunch of those, and then I stopped doing that. But I still do these kind of 1-day or 2-day courses where they'll say, okay, we're doing this type of grinding. And I'll say, I'm very familiar with that. So I just give them 1 or 2 days.
In person now? Or?
No, but this is on Zoom. So it's
still
a
on Zoom.
customized Zoom course.
Okay. All right.
So then, yeah, so I can wake up, have my coat, but wear my shorts underneath.
Okay.
Have my slippers on and just say, all right, let's talk grinding. I know what you do. You gave me a rundown of what you do. And so those have been good because I kind of know the issues they're facing. You know, I mean, if it's a mainstream type of grinding, if it's something funky, and I'd rather come visit them.
Yeah.
But if it's mainstream grinding, and then they do the course and they go, okay, thank you. And then, you know, a month later they say, just completely change what we do. We had no idea we were doing all this stuff wrong, and things like overlap ratios and dealing with chatter and burn and all this other stuff. And
yeah.
So, yeah, then they say, all right, let's do it again. Let's do a different subject. Let's get more people in. Here's our sister company. Can you do it for them? So I am okay with Zoom courses now for the subjects that I know well. But even though I'm an expert in grinding, it doesn't mean there aren't subjects I don't still have a good handle on, or at least types of grinding and geometries I don't have a good handle on.
Maybe we can take a pause right there, because that'd be a good opportunity for us to move into trends for what's coming down the pike for new technology, new things, new strategies, new applications, new methods of coolant and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I am not a great hyper. I'm not great at hyping stuff. Grinding is a mature industry. If you got a computer that's 30 years old, if I came here with my computer 30 years old, my 30-year-old laptop, and put it on the table, people would laugh. You got a 30-year-old grinder, you're doing just fine with it. You know, you got a 1960s Cincinnati centerless grinder, you're doing okay with it if you know how to use it. I don't have great answers when people ask me, what are the latest developments and what are the trends for the future? I can take a guess. I can have my opinions, but if you don't know grinding, you got to learn grinding first. That's the first step. Understand grinding.
So a lot of the content of the magazine for Cutting Tool Engineering is this is how you're going to get the best result out of this tool. And it's not just grinding that applies to. And that's what you have been teaching in your column throughout all of the columns. It's you might think that's going to produce this result, but if you actually slow this down, or there's always some kind of experience that comes through that it may not be as intuitive as the workers might think. And that generally was the case with a lot of what you would come in and do, and it would kind of open their eyes that there's this whole other world of burr and buildup and everything else on these things that you could show them. But the same is true outside of grinding in our industry. And it's what we write about all the time is slow this down or speed this up. This new tool, like Marcus was saying the other day, you just speed the thing up and you'll get better use out of it.
There are tons of things in grinding that are counterintuitive. If you got chatter, don't slow down your plunge speed. It's a bad idea. If anything, increase your plunge speed, or slow down your workpiece RPM. If you have burn and you're doing, let's say, cylindrical plunge grinding, what's the first thing people do when they get burned? They slow down their workpiece RPM, and the burn gets worse or stays the same. And I could explain all the reasons why. Basically, if you've got burn in cylindrical plunge grinding, increase your workpiece RPM. Now, I don't know if that's going to solve your burn problem, but you're going in the right direction to reduce temperature. But there are tons of things that are counterintuitive. Yeah.
And it all comes down to what you're trying to accomplish, material and everything else. I edited enough of these grinding doc video series to know there's always a caveat to if you want to get rid of burn.
I mean, going back to the new technologies are fine. I'm fine with them, but I'd really just rather people understand grinding first. And the analogy I always give is, if you're a crappy golfer and you go out and buy yourself a $40,000 set of golf clubs.
$40,000?
I don't know what golf clubs cost. 100,000? 10,000?
Nah, well, I don't know. Okay. Maybe somebody has them diamond encrusted.
Right. If you go out and buy an expensive set of golf clubs and you're a crappy golfer, you know what? You're still going to be a crappy golfer. You're just going to be a crappy golfer with a fancy set of clubs.
And that's my other podcast, how to maintain that crappy golf game.
Go out and buy expensive clubs, you'll still be a crappy golfer. So I just say, the golf clubs you got are probably fine. Let's just make you a better golfer. It's going to take time. It's not going to take as much time as you think.
Any kind of insight is going to help people get their job done better. I mean, that's, and it's not just for you. It's not something that applies to just this, but anything. And that's why cutting tool engineering stays in business, because people constantly need to know the new information and the best ways to apply the new tools that come along and some of the new machines. There are new wheels that come along.
They're new wheels. Wheels are fine. New machines. There's stuff going on in grinding. The grinding machine builders, the OEMs, they're doing new stuff. I can tell you about the new stuff they're doing. I like it. I pay attention to it. The grinding wheel producers are producing new stuff too. The grit manufacturers to some extent. So yes, there's a lot of cool stuff going on with new bond technologies. Some with the new grits like the ceramic grits, and you got the Cubitron 2 and the Cubitron 3, the triangular grit. You got to know when to use it though. And a lot of my job is companies will call me and they'll say, hey, there's a new technology. And I'll say, I love this new technology and I like it here, but not in all these other places, only here. And I can explain to you why. I can give you the scientific reasons why it works here, but not in other places. So don't waste your time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are reinventing the wheel or wasting their time trying stuff that I could, with a 5-minute phone call, I could say, no, don't do that. Now it's a good new technology, but you got to know where to do it and be careful of salesmen who are going to kind of extrapolate out. It worked here, so therefore it's going to work everywhere.
Well, right. And just because you can afford to buy an air nailer doesn't mean a hammer wouldn't do you just as well if all you're doing is hanging a picture on your wall at home. So I'm just trying to bring it down to my level of understanding.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I think that in a nutshell is kind of it's a message that comes up a lot in different ways with what's the best way to be the most productive to produce some part for, aerospace OEM that a shop might get, or, anything else. I mean, you've come across and probably have more stories that you can talk about with customers you've helped realize if you want to get to this space over here, then turn around and go 180 degrees the other way, and you're going to get there. I mean, I don't know if there's something that comes to mind that you can actually share, and I know you can't always share everything, but
I would say that a lot of my job is getting companies to increase productivity, battle their burn issues, whatever it is. And there's different ways I can do that. Number one is I can just go to the company, look at the process, and say, all right, you're running with these parameters with this wheel. Run with these parameters in this wheel, and the burn problem will go away. And okay, they do that, and it goes away, and everybody's happy. Yeah. And you come back later, and let's say come back 2 years later, and guess what? Well, they got a burn problem again. And the reason, and that's fine, I'll fix it for you again, and then I'll come back 2 years later. And the reason is because they didn't own the science, they didn't own the technology. They just said, I want this dude to come in from the outside, fix our problem. But then things are changing. They got a new workpiece. They have a different diamond supplier. They got a different wheel supplier. Something is different, and they didn't know how to deal with it. Okay. So my approach over the years has kind of changed a little bit from saying, I'll come in and fix your problem, which I can do, but then that means I have to go there. It takes time. And now my approach is to say, you guys could really just deal with this yourself. I'm going to explain to you grinding. I'm going to teach you grinding. I'm going to teach you all these fundamental things. And you send the right people to my courses, and they're going to come, and they're going to be kind of reluctant, and they're going to go, who the hell is this guy? I'll win them over. I almost always do. They're just going to soak it in. They're going to suck it up, and then they will go back and make good things happen. Now, maybe they don't get the cycle time down from 10 minutes to 4 minutes like I would. They get it from 10 minutes to 6 minutes. Fine. Okay. But still, they did it. They'll do it on that process, and then another process, and another process. And that's better than me coming in and just doing a one process. And then what happens is there's something will happen where they'll go, oh man, it was working. And now all of a sudden it stopped working. Should we call in that grinding guy again? We can. And they'll say, oh no, we can figure it out. And they'll say, oh, well, it stopped working because of ABC. It stopped working because our dressing diamond is changing, or because of this, that, and the other. And then they'll fix it themselves. And the vast majority of the time, occasionally you'll get a few flakes or people who don't want to learn, but the vast majority of the time, they'll go out and do great things.
No, Dad.
Oh, I guess I could do this if I wanted to.
Yeah, you're not Scott. You're not getting this scot free.
So, Tim, I don't know how you're going to edit this, but this is just an idea that I had, and at one point it was going to be me sitting behind a desk in this
David Letterman
space.
style.
Yeah,
Johnny Carson style.
Except-
Show our age.
Except I just thought, who really is going to watch me sitting behind a desk interviewing anyone?
It's okay.
Why would anyone do that? And one night I was watching one of the clips from the Graham Norton show.
Okay.
Now the Graham Norton show, they drink. Well, he gets these celebrities liquored up, and
I have no. What is the Graham Norton show?
it's out of British UK. I'm not sure exactly where it's located, but he's like a David Letterman.
Okay.
But it's like they sit there and drink, and at that time when he was doing all this, and I think he's still doing it, but I always see these clips on YouTube, so I don't know if it's still an active thing. But bottom line is, they're more entertaining after they've had a few drinks.
All right.
I'd like to introduce my girlfriend, the bartender of this episode.
This is my son, Tim, by the way. And Samantha Platz, Timothy Spaeth. And
This is an old fashioned.
and she's made Jeff and I an old fashioned using the Penelope bourbon. Yeah, let's get the picture of the actual bottle. Cheers. Jeff.
Cheers, Dennis. Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sam and Tim.
Sam. Very nice.
In that.
Hang on.
I'll go
Oh,
with that.
God, that's good. Very good. Very good. Got a nice citrus thing
See, it's
going
very
in there.
citrusy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It is really good. It's really good. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, being able to just talk to people about different issues in manufacturing while we're having a drink.
I like
That's
it.
all.
It's good, and it's better than just the typical sitting behind a desk.
Now
Even if Letterman did it and Johnny Carson and all the others.
well, they could get away with it because they were funny. And I mean, we've got a few things. One thing that I thought would be fun, a good use of this kind of a venue or this kind of a approach was, we can reach a broader audience than just our manufacturing metalworking professional audience. I mean, that's who I want to reach with this first and foremost. But I want to actually kind of get the word out about this industry, because it's a very good industry to go into if you want to make a decent income right out of the gate without needing to go to a four-year university. You don't need to be an engineer to get a job at a machine shop or any other type of shop out there. They, in most cases, will train you, as our salary and benefits survey that we'll be publishing in August.
Yeah.
Tell us. I mean, 96% of all the shops we survey offer some sort of benefit and decent pay. Someone who's just out of school, they might be making somewhere around $40,000 or $50,000 a year. That's as a machinist and CNC machinist. But they'll get training to get into the job. They may not know anything about it. They'll be able to get that training on the job and get paid somewhat. And then once they get up to speed, getting paid more.
And they're learning something cool. They're learning something interesting. That's what I like.
And I also think not enough people in the U.S. anyway know enough about what metalworking and what goes on at a lot of machine shops. It's not what I ever thought it was. When I first started going to the shops and doing video, I thought, wow, this is really not what I was expecting. And, and I came from covering dentistry.
Okay.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, you go into the office, it's all very clean. Well, the first thing I noticed was how clean everything was. Now, we've gone into some grinding shops, and we purposely went into one that you wanted to, for the first intro to the grinding dock at the
Where I had
beginning.
my stethoscope.
Yeah, you had the stethoscope, and then
yeah.
you found a real grinder. So this shop wasn't like the state of the art kind of thing. It had all this stuff everywhere. It had everything it could possibly need. But you found the grinder that would throw off the most sparks, and we
I like
filmed
the
that.
old grinders. I like the old metal monstrosities.
Well, and that's part of why I love video in this industry. sparks are fun. When you see these metal tools cutting metal like it's butter, it's just mesmerizing.
There is something satisfying about just watching an insert removing material off a workpiece. I don't know what it is. There's just something about it.
And you can watch it in slow motion. And now with the camera technology that exists now compared to when we first started doing our thing, you have the ability to capture high def slow motion with an iPhone if you so dared. It's some of the slow motion that everybody is taking for themselves now in a lot of the companies. When we first started doing this, and I started doing video booth visits at IMTS and other places, I wasn't the only one out there with video cameras, but not too many people knew what I was.
You knew what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing, but I didn't think anyone knew who I was or what the heck to make of me.
Yeah, and you knew what you're doing, and I think now it's such that you don't have to know as much to do a reasonably decent job. Is that a fair statement? You don't have to know the technology as well.
No, and if these cameras here, the cameras that we're using for the podcast, these are a great example. I mean, the lighting might seem pretty bright in here, but really, I can barely see Jeff. He's like 3 feet away from me. You're right. You just don't need a lot of light for some of these new cameras.
I was into photography for about 30 years ago. I had my little Pentax K1000. I learned shutter stops and aperture openings, and I think I got reasonably decent at it. And I enjoyed it. And then I forgot about it and did other things. And then a couple of years ago, I bought a new fancy camera. It was digital, but it had all the f-stops. Mm-hmm. And I went into Central Park and I walked around and took a bunch of pictures. And I got back home and I said, these pictures, they're not very good. So then I went out again. I took a bunch of pictures with my iPhone. And then I got home and I said, damn it, the iPhone pictures are better than the ones I took where I was adjusting the aperture and the f-stop and everything. And I was all excited to get back into my hobby. And I realized, the damn iPhone's better than I am. Let's just go with the iPhone. And so I guess my point is that you can do so much now with just the technology takes care of all that for you. You don't have to think so much.
Yeah, I'm going to slip back around. Yeah, I think everyone that has been in this industry the last 20 years has watched everything improve when it comes to video.
Do you work with the bourbon companies too, or is this just no? Really?
Honestly, it's not like I can't really deal with beer as much as I used to be able.
Me too. Yeah. I'm not a beer guy anymore. Just can't
seriously. That's another surprising. Yeah, it does. Of course, the first thing that I liked about it was it numbed my lips as soon as I took that first sip, and then after that, I was like, "Ooh, this is really smooth, really nice." And I've got Guinness here if you wanted to.
I like my Guinness. I'm getting older. I used to like beer when I was in my 20s. Now it doesn't do much for me. The only beer I like is like the really heavy stouts. You get them in a bottle and they're kind of bitter, and even Guinness is kind of the lighter, sweeter. But some of those really heavy stouts are the only beer I'll really drink anymore.
Have you had the Murphy's stout?
Yeah, Murphy's was
you would have, since you were in Dublin. That's it. There's at least two stouts that everyone knows about. It's Guinness and Murphy's, as far as I know. There might be another one.
Is Beamish, I think? Is that? I don't know if that's Irish, but there's something called Beamish. Murphy's was big in my day. I don't know what's big now. It changes, but I don't know. But Guinness is still a good one. But
Guinness is very good. I have Guinness glasses. I have some Guinness if you want to try some. But it might be getting to be a bit much after a couple of bourbons. So that's a pretty good drink, isn't it?
That's good. I like that. Yeah, you're right. It's citrusy and it's got like cherry or something, some kind of cherry citrus something or
Sam, Tim, if Sam is here, can she come in and just tell us what is in the old fashioned? Because I think it would be nice. Because I know somewhat what's in it, but I can't. I know there's something like when it comes to the cherry taste. What?
It's just some simple syrup added with it, and then some orange bitters.
So the orange.
Orange bitters.
So yeah, you can just talk right here.
Yeah, it's orange bitters, and then it's our simple syrup that we have.
So what is the simple syrup?
It's just some sugar,
So it gives it that
flavor.
sweeter.
Yeah.
So is there anything in here that's got that cherry flavor?
No.
But that's the citrus.
Yeah.
We're just tasting the orange.
Yeah, and
That's
then I
it,
put
yeah.
a squirt of orange in with it, with the orange peel.
The real orange. All
Yes,
right.
this
Look at that, man.
I cut into it, and I just put a quick little squirt of orange.
It's excellent. It's excellent. And I just wanted to have you come back and just because I'm not an expert at, and I've made some, but there's all kinds of different ways to make an
Yeah.
old fashioned.
There
And
is. That's what we learned this weekend.
and Sam recently got certified as a bartender, so she's up on the method. So cheers to you. Thank you. Anyway, so great way to get the family involved in our new podcast series. So, but yeah, I have too much fun sometimes.
It's a good setup. It's better than just a desk. I like it.
Oh, and behind me, I think I've mentioned this in the past, but we have the archived issues of the magazine going all the way back to the beginning of time, even to when it was first introduced as the Carbide Engineering Society
I remember
magazine.
that, yeah. If you got December, I'm pretty sure it was December 2000, that first grinding dot column.
Let me go check it.
I'm not sure, but I think so.
December of 2000 is right here.
Because I moved to Sweden in April of 2000, and I think it was December. I'm not sure.
Let's see. Some people would have
And
done
it's
this
grinding-
research before the camera started, but
And I still get emails about that article because grinding burn and how everyone defines grinding burn different
burn
ways.
awareness. That's
oh my
it.
God, there it is. Yeah,
Page 40 of the December 2000 issue.
and it's hard to get a good summary of just what is burn. Everyone's got a different opinion, and that kind of summarized it. And it took me a while to figure out. I had to do my homework to get it right. There it is. Yep.
All right, so let's see if I can burn awareness. That's the story, and you can see by Jeffrey Badger
Andrew Torrance might have
and
been a
Andrew
co-author.
Torrance.
Yeah, it was my PhD advisor, Dr. T. We called him.
Dr. T. So now this wasn't a grinding deck article. So how much longer did it take for us to have our first?
I don't know. It must have been a month or two or a couple months later. And Don said, you want any more articles? And I said, let's do a column. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And I said, let's do the grinding dot question answer column, Dear Abby style, Ann Landers.
and it really does work. I mean, do you get people contact you directly still with questions every now and then?
Not really. No one's.
Really?
I just kind of make them up. I just make them up based on my. I mean, I get tons
You
of questions
used to get
all the
them.
time.
You used to get
Kind of, sort of. I would usually
make them up
just,
from consulting
just
sessions.
companies I would visit or emails I would get in general, but
Mhm.
no one would. Very seldom would people say, "I have a question for your next column."
Honestly, it makes no difference how you get the
But
question.
I got tons of.
These
I
are
get
real
every
questions. These
day.
are real situations that shops have been going through.
Sure, I get tons of questions every day. They just don't, occasionally they'll say, oh, it's the grinding out question, or it's just a general question. Hey, what do I do about this? What about this?
Yeah.
How do I handle this? So
Yeah.
Those are the ones I pull from.
Okay.
So then for a while I had a list of all the questions I would get. And then Alan would email me, go, hey man, it's time for your grinding dot column.
Alan Richter,
Alan
our
Richter.
editor at large.
And so I'd go to my list and I'd say, okay, let's just pull a question that I got, and I would answer that question. There's a 100,000 questions in grinding, so finding a question is easy.
By the way, do you have a column for me that's due?
I don't know. You guys email me, you yell at me, say, "Hey, where the hell's that damn column?"
Next time, that's for
And
September, I
maybe
believe.
is there what I need? I'm kind of slow.
No,
Maybe
no, no.
yes.
It's for September. Now, so what are your plans? I know we probably should be thinking about wrapping this up because, I mean, I can keep drinking and talking, but
I'll drink all. I don't have to be at work till Tuesday. I can stay all night. It's
all
fine.
right. Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about IMTS this year, 2024. What are your plans for? I mean, you're invited to our booth anytime you want, but because we're going to have a bar there, not this one, but we're going to have a little bar set up, and we'll be doing mini bourbons with the editor.
Well, then let's do it. Let's film one. We filmed a bunch at the IMTS booth, and
Oh, and we had the big booth when John
Yeah.
Roberts still owned the place. Yeah.
and we did a bunch of videos then too. And I'm happy to do videos anytime. As Madonna said, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I thought that wasn't that Warhol? No, I don't know.
Andy Warhol, maybe.
I don't know.
Everybody's
Is that-
famous for a day or something. Madonna, bad publicity. I don't know.
Oh, whoever said it, I mean, yeah, there's
Mostly
some
true.
publicity that's not good. But
If you're Madonna, it's probably different. But if you're a professional, yes, it's a little different.
yeah. So I think that'd be great. Now, if you want to do just continue this conversation, just kind of talk about things in general in terms of some of the grinding technology that you've been focused on and helping people get more productivity out of. I love what we did with Rush Machinery.
That was fun. That was good. Yeah.
I would love to do more of that kind of stuff.
What we could do, and as I get older, my approach changes. And now my approach is basically, I've accumulated all this knowledge, and I didn't, it took me 20 years to get it. I didn't get it in the first 2 years or 5 years. And I tell people, I did a PhD. Don't trust people with a PhD. It doesn't mean a damn thing. I mean, gee, I knew nothing when I got my PhD. I came out and knew nothing. But I figured stuff out on the shop floor over 20 years. So what I'd like to do is go to a company and say, you got this problem I can't figure out. Like sometimes, most of the time I just kind of go, all right, you're doing this as a typical situation. Boom, 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 problem solved. But there are some of them where I go, man, this is a little complicated. So I'll come for free sometimes. And I'll say, you're doing something interesting. I can't charge you because I can't guarantee I'm going to fix your problem.
Yeah.
But it's something new and interesting, and I don't think anyone can fix your problem. So if someone tells you they got an answer, a wheel salesman tells you got an answer, don't believe them because you got an interesting, unique problem. So if we ever wanted to do one where we went to the company, we filmed it, it was somewhere around the Chicago area. I spent a day or two on the shop floor analyzing it, saying, hey, try this, see if this works. That would be fun. I like those type of things. So that would be cool. Something like that.
If there's anyone out there that has a challenge for the grinding dock and be willing to let us come in there with a camera, it'd probably be my son. I might come by with a bottle of bourbon just to share with everyone. But that would be a great series to do. And it would, to me, that would be a good thing to build into a series, because I think with Brush Machinery, we had 3 episodes.
And we had a definite goal in mind. There was one specific goal.
You were setting parameters.
Yep. And we built a little program to say, hey, we were trying to figure out dressing, because like there are areas of grinding people don't understand. Mm-hmm. And dressing is truing of diamond grinding wheels, basically, mm-hmm. is something people didn't understand. That we have a pretty good understanding, and now not perfect, but people didn't understand. So that was a good one. But, we could also do one where we just go to a company and say, hey man, you got burned. You're making the typical mistakes. Here's what you do to solve the problem. Solve the problem. Boom. We're done. That would be a fun one too.
Yeah. This is the series that I was talking about. We had 3 different episodes, where the first one was called Defining the Turing Parameters. It was our 83rd episode, and then and this was all filmed at the Rush Machinery facility. Oh God, what's
Upstate New York.
Upstate New York. What was the name of the town? I should know it by heart.
But I know it's off Lake.
It's off one of the Finger Lakes, I believe. Yeah. To me, that was a great deal of fun, and I'm totally interested in doing stuff like that with anybody out there that might want to get together to do it with us here at Cutting Tool Engineering. Not necessarily in grinding, but because I already have my guy here, the grinding dock, to work with on that kind of stuff. But this is what's exciting to me to work on, to bring new information to the audience and let them see kind of behind the scenes what goes into learning what works and what doesn't.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's there we are.
So you are going to be at IMTS.
Yep. So we kind of got sidetracked. I'm not going to exhibit. I exhibited once. It was kind of a waste of money.
Well,
And,
for you, yeah. I mean,
yeah, you could
as
have
a
told me that
consultant.
before, Dennis, and saved me $15,000.
When was that? What year
That
was
was
this?
probably 50 years ago.
Yeah, probably before I got involved. Huh?
Yeah, I did it once, and it was kind of a waste of money. So now I just walk around and talk to people, and then afterwards go for a good steak downtown. A lot of people in the grinding world, so I'll go visit my old buddies, and that'll be fun. That'll be a good time. IMTS is always fun. I'll stay downtown and get some steak, go to the Redhead Piano Bar or wherever the hell is going on.
That's right down there.
Yeah.
You got to take a cab from the current place, but
Yeah, that's yep.
but that's a great place to be too.
And then I go get back from Greece because I'm going to an academic conference in August in Greece to present a academic paper that I wrote. So
well, we won't pry too much, but
no,
give me
it's
the abstract.
Just dressing basically. There's a type of grinding that there's an aspect of grinding that's not understood. It is traverse diamond distressing of aluminum oxide wheels, and no one really understands it. So a buddy of mine, Hastings called me and goes, "Hey, I got all this data because I'm trying to figure out dressing for gear grinding, and I can't figure it out." And I said, "Well, you can't figure it out because no one has figured it out. It's complicated.
Okay.
You're doing traverse diamond distressing, and it's messy." And I said, "So we'll figure it out. We'll put it into our model of aggressiveness, which is kind of like chip thickness, and then we'll quantify dressing aggressiveness for dressing aluminum oxide wheels." So we did that. That worked out well. And then I said, let's send it to an academic journal. And depending, sometimes these academic conferences are held in Western Illinois, and then I don't go. And sometimes the academic conferences are held in Greece, and then I submit the paper. So
Elaborate.
So like I said, there's the.
You don't like Macomb?
Sorry, yeah. So whatever town we're in right now, it's lovely, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Sorry.
This is Arlington Heights, by the way.
Arlington Heights. I don't know. Okay. I'm in Rockford, I think. That's where I'm staying tonight.
You get offered to go to Macomb, you pass. And sometimes you get offered to go to Greece, and
Yes.
you find yourself in Greece.
That's right. And if given a choice, I'd go to Greece. So so the academic world, and there's the real world. And I kind of like the real world because it's more difficult. It's more difficult to make things work in grinding in the real world than it is in the academic world.
Can you explain why that is? Is everything just that much more controlled? The setting is so much more controlled in the academic settings?
Probably something like that. I mean, the grinding, the real world, they say, all right, hey man, you've got to make this widget. And the widget is stickle alloy steel, whatever.
Okay.
And we're going to make 30 million widgets next year. And we got to do it on 10 grinding machines. And if the company's going to survive, you got to make them fast. And so you're going to make this widget, buddy. They say this to the operator, and they say it's got to be within such and such a tolerance. It's got to be in such and such a surface finish RA value. It's got to have no chatter vibration marks. It's got to have no burn. How we define burn, but residual tensile stresses, martensitic layer, newly formed martensite, or overtempering. And we want you to do it quick because that's how the company's going to make money.
Right.
And we're not going to give you any training. And you better make it, buddy. And they do. They make it work. It's kind of amazing that these guys on the shop floor will make it work without any training whatsoever. And
trial and error.
Trial and error, yeah. And it's not easy. And here's this machine that you got to do it, and it's got all this G code, which no one really knows what the hell all the G code means and how it works, because in 1974 someone wrote the program, and there it still is. And so that's difficult. Where in the academic world, you say, okay, we've got this theory, we got a machine, we can control the parameters, we can do what we want. It's a little bit easier. Now, I don't want to diss the academic world, because what they're doing is they're learning stuff for us and helping us understand it. Yeah. So, and that's fabulous and what we need. Okay. So that's the academic world is you've got a nice machine, you control the parameters, you can take your time. If something goes wrong, you can stop. And
oh, thank you. Thanks.
And so I call myself an expert. So I say, okay, I got to stay up to date in the academic world. And so I will write papers in the academic world. And then if it's somewhere fun, like Greece, I'll go and submit to that particular. So going back to my buddy Hastings, Hastings says, I got all this data about dressing. And I said, hey, Hastings, no one really knows what the hell all this means. It's traverse diamond dressing. No one really understands it.
Yeah.
And I said, so we'll put together a little model. I'll help you understand it so you can use it in your company. And then we'll write an academic paper about it. So we did. So then we wrote the academic paper, submitted it. It was accepted. And then we'll go to Greece and present it. And
now, what journal is that going to be in?
that'll be in SERP. SERP is one of the 3 best journals for grinding, academic organization.
Yeah.
And SERP stands for something in French I never remember, but they call themselves I think I should know this, but they're a manufacturing organization. And so they do fabulous work. They're very, very good. It's difficult, but you get a SERP paper, it's difficult to get through because it's written in academic speak, which is kind of necessary, but it's still difficult,
At the bottom of our column, it talks about where you're going to be for some of your courses.
Yeah, so my work now is basically I give 4 times a year. I give courses, 3-day course, high intensity grinding course. I called it 18 years ago when we first started doing it. And we do them in Europe and the US, occasionally India. You come 3 days, you learn about grinding. You get the book grinding, 3,000 pages. You get all the software. Send the right people. Send someone who's got a little bit of experience and has got an open mind. They will learn grinding and they will go out and do fabulous things. That's option number 1. Option number 2, the Zoom courses, which I haven't really done in a while. I should probably do them again. But I do customize Zoom courses, which I like. And then option number 3 is I just come to your company and spend 2 or 3 days helping you with grinding. So that's good for bigger companies. Not good for small companies, but a big multinational. You send 20 people, put them in a conference room. I will explain grinding to them. And of those 20 people, 2 or 3 will go out and make fabulous things happen. Yeah. Hopefully, if you got the right people. 10 will kind of sit back and watch and improve things slowly, gradually. They'll talk to the 3 who are making things happen, but they're on board. So they're communicating with the 3 go-getter smart guys. And you have 5 or 6 flakes who just kind of, want to go home in the evening.
Well, there's some beer involved, isn't there?
They get a free dinner. They don't have to be on the shop floor. It's less noisy and they're happy.
Hey, they're learning.
And
they're still learning.
Maybe in a couple of years they'll use some of it. But it's the 2 or 3 that go out and make fabulous things happen. And there's the 5 to 6 to 10 who support them. They're not necessarily gung-ho, but they will kind of say, hey, I remember that grinding guy talked about that. I'll make that happen. Cool. So that's the, I call it the boot camp. And there's different varieties, but that's pretty good if you're a bigger company. If you're a smaller company, just send people to my 3-day course. Send 1 guy, 2 guys, 2 gals. That's the best option. So that's mostly what I do. And then I have all the other stuff. Like I do some academic work. I do some research work. I do some expert witness stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
But if you are a production person, those would be your options. And your people are hungry for information. And it's kind of amazing. You just teach people some basic stuff and say, I'm doing cylindrical traverse grinding and my cycle time is 16 hours. And I say, well, are you familiar with the concept of overlap ratio? What % of your wheel are you using? And I explained that to them and how it works and how to dress the wheel sharp and remove most of the material, dress the wheel dull before you go to finish. And they go, oh my God, we went back and got the cycle time down from 16 hours to 3 hours, And I'll say, it's basic stuff, man. But
it's basic to you. And once they learn it, it's basic.
Once they learn it, yes, but they got to learn it first.
Yeah, well, it's like everything.
Yeah.
Once you learn it, okay, now I understand. Oh, that's a fundamental.
Yeah.
But until you know what you don't know, you don't know.
Damn right.
Oh, all right. I think I've got to stop.
Well, I know you're talking about our boy Donald Rumsfeld.
Oh my God!
But I use that quote in my course because you can have your opinions of Donald politically, good or bad, whatever. But it is such a fabulous quote about, and I use it in my courses.
Yeah.
It's the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns, and it's fabulous. So in my courses there'll be all these unknown unknowns that I will teach you about, and there will be these known unknowns that I will teach you about.
I don't mind plugging your courses for you. I mean, it's one of the agreements we have with you to do the column that you do with us, and I appreciate the column. I think we should probably wrap this up
Have we been
because
chatting? I have no idea how long we've been
I don't
chatting.
have. I really lost
Started
track
at 6:30.
because I started with a bourbon before we started, and I kept drinking during this whole thing. And this old fashioned here was made this guy who's not that old fashioned, but I don't think I can carry on the conversation intelligently anymore. Is there anything? Where are people gonna be able to hear about you next? Where's the next course for you that you're doing?
Boy, what do we got?
You've got
I'm
several.
getting old, Dennis. I forget stuff. Let's
You know,
see.
we'll put it at the end of this. You don't have to
We're doing
remember.
courses in Chicago with Danabed. Danabed's hosting a course in December.
Okay.
That'll be good. Danabed is a Spanish machine producer, machine builder.
Okay.
And so we're doing them. We're doing one in South Carolina. I think we're doing one in France in February.
Oh,
we're gonna do.
Is
one
that the one we have to go to?
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna do one in England, and probably we haven't finalized that.
Okay.
Well, what else we got going? We got
If
some
you get
more.
anything going in Dublin again? I haven't been to Dublin.
You know,
I've
we
been to
did-
Ireland, but I've not been to Dublin.
We did a bunch of courses in Dublin. It's interesting when people attend. Like we did a course in Vegas once because I wanted to go to Vegas. So I said, "Oh, if I do the course, it's a tax deductible this flight." And we didn't get that good a turnout in Vegas because the managers just wouldn't send their guys to Vegas for a course.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But if you do it in Ohio, they're beating down the door to come to.
Yeah, this
middle
is
nowhere,
still about
Ohio.
productivity and actually learning something.
We've done them in Paris. We've done them in Dublin, New York City, Chicago, Ohio. Ohio's always the most popular. Gets the most attendees.
That's interesting, and that's just a short little drive from here.
All right. Well, thank you, Dennis. It's been fun.
Thank you. Let's raise our water. Sam came by and gave us a glass of water because I think we need it about now. But cheers. This has been great. Just want to say thanks again to Jeff Badger, the grinding doc. Look forward to working with you for many more years, column wise, and whatever else we can do. Be
You
great.
know, we can come up with more ideas. I mean, yeah, like your video idea was good. What else can we come up with?
We'll talk about it at our next Bourbon with the Editor.
We can do that. We can do one. I'll be back at IMTS. We'll do another one then if you're free.
Oh, I'll be around, and we can do that for sure.
Cool,
Thanks
man.
a lot. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. If you have been here the whole time, you're great. Close it up for me, Tim.